Long before kings carved their empires into stone, dragons ruled boundless skies until their dominion collapsed into silence, ruin, and fading legend. In the quiet village of Ember Hollow, Kale forges steel each day, unaware a powerful destiny burns deep within his blood and awaits awakening. An unnatural storm rises above the village, signaling an ancient darkness awakening to reclaim the world once again. Lyra Veilwind arrives from distant lands, searching for the blacksmith destined to awaken a forgotten legacy of power. Kale and Lyra discovered a secret, revealing a hidden dragon mark and awakening a truth long buried beneath centuries of silence, shadow, and ruin. Kale's blood suddenly ignites, blazing with fire that surges through his veins, unleashing a power long lost to the world since the fall of the ancient dragon riders. From the shadows, nightmarish creatures creep forward, drawn inexorably by the return of a bloodline thought lost to the ages, their eyes burning with hunger and malice. With every strike of his hammer, Kale erupts in dragonfire, a raging, untamed power surging through him, one he cannot yet fully grasp or control. Flames soar high into the heavens, turning night into fire, a blazing signal that something ancient and long forgotten has awakened once more in the world. Lyra steps forward, voice trembling with awe, revealing the truth. Kale is the last of the legendary dragon riders, destined to reclaim a power thought lost forever.
The mist thickens. Stay alert.
I sense a presence
Leaving
ahead.
everything he has ever known behind, Kale steps onto a path
Whatever it is,
fraught
we'll face
with
it
danger,
together.
one
Always.
that will shape the destiny of kingdoms and echo across the ages. Through the shadowed ancient woods, faint whispers stir, carrying echoes from a forgotten age, when dragons once ruled the skies freely and fearlessly. Ruins scar the land, silent witnesses to wars long past, telling the sorrowful story of riders and dragons lost to betrayal, fire, and despair. The compass hums to life in their hands, guiding Kale and his allies toward a legend hidden deep within the burning heart of the mountains. From every shadowed corner, unseen eyes watch their journey as darkness creeps closer and the weight of danger tightens around them. An ancient shrine emerges, sacred and untouchable, revealing the bond once shared between humans and dragons, a connection older than memory. The flame test ignites before their eyes, confirming the truth with blazing certainty. Kale's blood carries the ancient power of the dragon riders. Dark forces strike again, relentless and growing with each passing moment, tearing through the land and leaving chaos in their wake. Far beneath the earth, a greater evil stirs, awakening from centuries of slumber, waiting for the moment when it can rise and reclaim its dominion. Toward the crown of cinders, Kale marches steadily, entering a land forged by fire, scarred by death, and bound by destiny beyond his understanding. The Ashlands stretch endlessly before him, a wasteland where dragons once fell, and the earth still smoulders with the remnants of fire long thought extinguished. Crossing rivers of molten fire, Kale senses the mountain itself watching, every shadow shifting, every whisper of wind carrying a warning he cannot ignore. The bones of fallen dragons rise like monuments across the scorched land, silent witnesses to a war that shattered kingdoms, leaving ruin and sorrow in its wake. Kale's mind, their deeds and sacrifices written in flames, revealing a past both glorious and tragic, impossible to forget. A colossal, ancient gate looms ahead, the final threshold between Kale and his destiny, a threshold that promises either triumph or utter annihilation. Only the blood of a true rider can awaken the ancient doors, their carvings glowing faintly, guarding the last living dragon and secrets lost to time itself. Inside the cavern, silence hangs heavy, echoing where giants once ruled the darkness, a sacred space untouched by mortal hands for countless centuries. A sleeping titan breathes within the cavern, its massive form coiled in stillness, waiting patiently for the world to once again remember the power it commands. A single eye opens, immense and burning, glowing with the memory of ages past, a force both terrifying and majestic, judging all who dare approach. The dragon roars, a sound that shakes the cavern and the earth itself, deciding whether Kale is worthy to live, or destined to fall beneath its fury. Man and dragon face each other, the air thick with tension, as judgment descends in a single decisive moment that will test courage, strength, and destiny alike. The dragon speaks, its voice deep and resonant, carrying the weight of centuries of betrayal, forgotten history, and truths long buried beneath the earth. Kale steps forward, declaring his purpose boldly, vowing to stand against the darkness rising across the world, no matter the cost to his own life. The dragon remembers the betrayal of humanity, its eyes wary and filled with sorrow, questioning whether the mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat themselves. The mountain quakes violently, its ancient heart stirring, as a force long buried beneath the world begins to awaken, shaking the very foundations of the land.
Brace yourself!
Far below, the Shadow Lord stirs, an ancient evil awakening from its slumber, bringing with it the promise of endless darkness and the threat of despair to all. Kale stands engulfed in dragonfire, enduring a trial that will test his spirit, his courage, and his very essence, defining the path he is destined to walk. The hammer ignites with brilliant fire, and Kale embraces the power he was born to wield, the ancient energy surging through him like a living force. The dragon bows slowly, its massive head dipping in solemn acknowledgement, recognizing the return of a true and worthy rider after ages of waiting. The bond is forged at last, dragon and rider rising together in a blaze of fire and glory, heralding the rebirth of an alliance lost to time, but destined to endure. Kale ascends into the stormy sky, leaving behind the life he once knew, soaring higher with each beat of the dragon's wings, tasting freedom and destiny together. Above the ashlands, the heavens erupt into a chaotic battlefield of storm and fire, lightning slicing the sky, while embers swirl like sparks of a dying world. Below, Lyra senses a darkness growing, spreading across the land, threatening to consume everything she has ever fought to protect, her heart heavy with fear. Kale struggles to master the power of flight, balancing raw fear against the overwhelming strength of the dragon, every motion a test of courage and skill. Beneath them, the kingdoms stretch wide, fragile and vulnerable, now depending on one reluctant hero to stand against forces beyond imagination. A pulse of darkness spreads like a shadow across the land, signaling the awakening of the Shadow Lord and the beginning of a threat that could engulf all life. Kale returns swiftly to Lyra as the mountain trembles and collapses around them, chaos erupting in every direction, leaving no path untouched by destruction. The dragon warns gravely, its voice echoing with power, that if the darkness rises fully, nothing in the world will survive its merciless onslaught. The abyss opens wide, revealing a force beyond fire, beyond life, a void that stretches into eternity and threatens to consume everything in its path. The Shadow Lord speaks with a voice of doom, declaring that the return of the rider is meaningless, and that all hope is but a fleeting illusion. Dragonfire strikes deep into the abyss, blazing defiantly against the darkness, clawing its way upward, refusing to yield to the shadow that threatens all life. The sanctuary crumbles around them, fire and stone tearing the mountain apart, each explosion and collapse echoing like the wrath of the world itself. They flee as the world burns behind them, racing through falling debris and molten rivers, barely outrunning the destruction closing in from every side. Through storms of ash and fire, Kale and Lyra struggle to escape, the land behind them consumed entirely by ruin, smoke, and unrelenting heat. Darkness spreads relentlessly across the kingdoms, swallowing villages, forests, and mountains alike, a tide of shadow that nothing can stop. Kale steels himself, vowing to fight, embracing the heavy burden of being the last dragon rider, the final hope against a world falling into despair. Villages burn under the shadow armies, screams and chaos filling the air, marking the beginning of a war that could destroy everything Kale holds dear. From the sky, Kale unleashes torrents of dragonfire, becoming the weapon the world needs, a blazing force of hope and fury against encroaching darkness. The shadows retreat for now, but the calm is fleeting, the war far from over, and the world still teeters on the brink of utter devastation. From high above, Kale sees the kingdom stretched beneath him, a world on the edge of total destruction, fragile and battered, waiting for a savior or a final end. At the capital, a legend returns, his presence stirring awe and fear alike, bringing hope to the desperate and warning of the trials yet to come. The dragon lands with thunderous power, and Kale proclaims a warning of the storm of darkness gathering beyond the horizon, shaking all who hear it. His words echo through the streets and towers, calling kingdoms to prepare for a war they cannot avoid, a conflict that will test every soul and blade. From the city walls, endless shadow armies advance beneath a dying sky, their ranks unbroken, moving like a tide of despair that threatens to swallow everything. Dragonfire rains down across the battlefield, scorching earth and enemy alike, as Kale strikes with relentless fury, leaving nothing but destruction in his wake. Fire clashes with shadow in a brutal storm of war, consuming the plains before the capital, turning grass and stone to ash under the onslaught of battle. A towering general emerges from the darkness, commanding the shadow armies with terrifying strength, a force that could crush hope underfoot if left unchecked. Kale soars into the sky, confronting the general in a fierce duel above the battlefield, every strike and roar echoing with the fate of kingdoms hanging in the balance. Dragonfire explodes with unstoppable power, destroying the commander and shattering the enemy's advancing force, turning the tide of war in a single, blazing moment. Silence falls briefly over the battlefield, but above, the sky begins to tear apart, a reminder that even victory comes at the edge of overwhelming chaos. The sky splits open with a deafening roar, revealing a swirling vortex of endless darkness, a tear in the world that threatens to consume everything in existence. The Shadow Lord descends from the void, a being of pure pie and destruction, bringing terror to all who dare witness the return of such overwhelming darkness. Kale stands his ground, unyielding and resolute, raising Dragonfire against the coming end, refusing to bow before the force that seeks to erase the world. Dark lightning tears through the sky, striking with devastating force, sending the dragons spiraling helplessly from the heavens toward the shattered earth below. They crash upon the broken ground, hope shattered in the wake of overwhelming darkness, the weight of defeat pressing down on them with crushing force. The Shadow Lord advances slowly, certain of victory, his presence suffocating as he moves to end the last rider and extinguish the final spark of resistance. Lyra steps forward without hesitation, standing firm against the darkness, refusing to let fear decide their fate or allow the world to fall into oblivion. Behind them, the dragon rises once more, its flames rekindling with renewed strength, a blazing symbol that hope has not yet been extinguished. With renewed determination, Kale climbs onto the dragon again, ready to face the final battle, his spirit unbroken and his purpose now clear. Dragon and shadow stand opposed at last, as the world holds its breath, waiting for the clash that will decide the fate of all existence. They charge together into the storm, Dragonfire and darkness colliding in a violent clash. A storm of destruction tearing through the sky with unstoppable force. Flames and lightning collide in a blinding explosion, shaking the heavens themselves as raw power erupts in a battle that threatens to tear the world apart. The darkness strikes back with terrifying force, wrapping around them, threatening to tear dragon and rider apart as they fight to hold their ground. Falling through chaos and fire, Kale reaches the very limits of his strength, his grip slipping as the weight of the battle threatens to consume him entirely. In that final moment, his bloodline fully awakens, unleashing a power beyond imagination, ancient and unstoppable, surging through him like living fire. Rising once more from the brink of defeat, dragon and rider ascend together through fire and storm, reborn in power, bound by destiny and unbreakable will. At the heart of the raging storm, time itself seems to stand still, as destiny takes form in the final clash between light and endless darkness. Kale unleashes the ultimate Dragonfire, a blazing force of pure energy, powerful enough to challenge the void and push back the darkness consuming the world. Cracks of radiant light tear through the Shadow Lord's endless darkness, breaking its hold and shattering the illusion of invincible power it once commanded. With one final unstoppable strike, Kale channels all his strength and destroys the Shadow Lord forever, ending the darkness and restoring hope to the world. The darkness finally falls away and the raging storm begins to fade, leaving behind a fragile silence where chaos and destruction once ruled the skies. Sunlight breaks through the clouds at last, washing over the battlefield in golden warmth, bringing with it a sense of victory and the promise of new hope. Weary and battered, Kale and Lyra stand side by side in the quiet aftermath of war, their breaths heavy, their spirits tested yet unbroken. The people gather in awe and wonder, witnessing the return of dragons and legend, their voices rising in celebration of a victory once thought impossible. The compass stirs gently once more, its needle pointing forward, hinting at dragons yet to be found, and a future still waiting to be written. The dragon remains beside Kale, their bond unshaken and eternal, as the age of riders begins anew, stronger than ever before. Dragonfire rises into the dawn once more, blazing across the sky, igniting the beginning of a new era that will be remembered for generations to come. Together, they take flight into the open sky, soaring above a world reborn from ashes, free at last from the shadow that once threatened all life. As guardians of the skies, they watch over the lands below, protecting a world that now rests in hard-won peace after the fall of darkness. And so, the legend rises once more, carried on wings of fire and hope. The age of dragons has returned, and its story is only just beginning.